Welcome back to another episode of SmoothBrainEDH, where we make the smoothest plays with the biggest brains. This week, our smoothies brought some of their favorite personal decks to the table, so let's see who has the best brew. First up is Ethan, who is on Liberator, Urza's Battlethopter. This is a colorless flash deck, and Ethan's playing big, impactful artifacts that he wants to sneak in on his opponent's turns and eventually go infinite with. Up next is me, Cameron, piloting Gandalf the White. My Gandalf deck I've built as an eggs deck, and I want to cast low-cost artifacts that draw me cards, and eventually get to make infinite mana using the doubled triggered ability clause from Gandalf. Our third player today is Chandler, who brought Huatli, Poet of Unity. As our resident Dino Dad, Chandler has been trying out all of the new dinosaur commanders and wanted to give Huatli a try. He's still looking to overrun his opponents with big ol' stompy dinos. Our last player today is Alex on Lord Windgrace. Alex's version of Lord Windgrace is more focused on comboing out, using cards like Valakut the Molten Pinnacle, Scape Shift, and Dryad of the Elysian Grove in order to bolt his opponents to death. We're about to get you into the game, but before that, go ahead and like and tell us which deck you're rooting for down in the comments below. We have links to our socials, public Discord server, Decklists, and Patreon in the description. We're also partnered with Dragon Shield, so if you're looking to pick up any new sleeves or magic-related product, check out the affiliate link down in the description below. Thanks to Dragon Shield for the code SMOOTH5, so use that for 5% off your order at checkout. We're also partnered with Inked Gaming. Check out the affiliate link down below if you want to pick up any custom playmats. Now, on to the game.
Looks like Ethan wins the die roll. He'll start off with Ancient Tomb and tap it for 2 and take 2 to cast Hangerback Walker X's 1. The turn is then passed to Cameron, and he'll start off with Plains into Chromatic Star, and then he passes to Chandler. And he'll start off with a basic forest as land for turn, then cast Birds of Paradise, and then the turn is passed to Alex. And Alex will just play an untapped Undergrowth Stadium and then pass to Ethan. Ethan plays a Rogue's Passage as land for turn, and then he'll tap his Ancient Tomb for another 2 and take 2 damage, and then cast Lightning Greaves. He'll free equip them over to his Hangerback Walker and then pass the turn to Cameron. And he'll start off with another Plains as his land drop, then he'll tap for 2 and cast Arcane Signet, and then the turn is passed to Chandler. Chandler starts off by tapping for 1 and casting the Sol Ring he just top decked, then he'll play a tapped Sacred Foundry as land for turn, and then he'll tap for 3 and cast Cultivate. He'll find a mountain to the battlefield tapped and a Plains to his hand, and pass the turn while searching. Now on Alex's turn, he'll play a basic mountain as land for turn, and then tap for 2 and cast Farseek. He'll find a tapped Stomping Ground and pass to Ethan. Ethan will stop on end step though to activate his Hangerback Walker to give it another counter. After this, we'll move to his turn and he'll play a Wastes as his land drop, and then he'll tap for 3 and cast Metal Worker, and he does take 2 to his Ancient Tomb. It'll resolve, and Ethan attempts to move Lightning Greaves over to it. Cameron does have a response to this though, and will path to exile the Metal Worker. Ethan begs for mercy, but Chandler begs for Cameron to not give in because dear lord Metal Worker is one hell of a card, especially with Shroud and Haste. So the Metal Worker is exiled, and Ethan gets a Waste to the battlefield tapped, and then the turn is passed to Cameron. He'll start off with an Inventor's Fair as land for turn, and then he'll tap for 4 and cast Thran Dynamo. Then with the Dynamo, he'll cast a Circuit Mender and gain 2 life. The turn is then passed to Chandler, and he'll start off by tapping for 3 and casting his commander, Huatli. She'll resolve, and her ETB trigger will find him a basic forest to hand, which he'll play as land for turn. Then after this, he'll tap for 3 and cast Welcome To. With its first chapter, Chandler will transform Ethan's Lightning Greaves and Cameron's Thran Dynamo into 0/4 wall creatures with Defender. This will also make the Lightning Greaves fall off of the Hangerback Walker. And then after this, the turn is passed to Alex. And he'll start off with a Lotus Cobra. He'll then play his Deathcap Glade as land for turn, and Landfall Trigger will make a black mana. Then after this, he'll cast a Demonic Tutor. So he searches his library for a card and puts it to his hand, and then he'll just pass the turn to Ethan. And Ethan will activate Hangerback Walker on end step again to give it another counter. Then he'll move to his turn, and Ethan will start off with a Vesuva as land for turn, and this will copy Inventor's Fair. And then he'll just pass the turn to Cameron, who gains a life on upkeep, and then we'll play a basic Plains as land for turn. And then he'll just pass the turn. Man, him and Ethan having flash commanders is nuts. But now on Chandler's turn, Welcome To will tick up, and he'll make a 3/3 dinosaur with Trample and Haste. After this, Chandler will play a basic Plains as land for turn, then he'll tap for 3 and cast Elemental Bond. After this, he'll tap for 5 and activate Huatli's Transform ability, turning her into Roar of the Fifth People. Its first chapter will create 2 3/3 dinosaurs, and then Chandler will draw 2 cards off of Elemental Bond. Chandler will then move to combat and swing 3 at Ethan, and Ethan just bounces it off of his boot wall. Dang, Ethan's wall is doing better than the actual Jurassic Parks. Chandler will then attempt to pass the turn, but Alex stops on end step to Vampiric Tutor. This will tutor a card, this time to the top of his library, and he'll lose 2 life. Then we can move to Alex's turn, where he casts a Crop Rotation, sacrificing his Stomping Grounds. And this will find him a Valakut to the battlefield tapped, and this will trigger his Lotus Cobra, making him a green. He'll then play Basic Swamp as land for turn, making another green, and then he'll cast Dryad of the Elysian Grove. After this, he'll cast a Rampant Growth, which finds him a forest to the battlefield tapped, and since all of his lands are now technically mountains, Valakut will trigger. And with this trigger, Alex will do the ye old Bolt the Bird. His Lotus Cobra will also make a green, but this doesn't matter because he'll pass the turn after this. But obviously enough, Ethan will stay on instep and flash in Liberator, his commander. And now that he can start flashing in stuff, he'll just pass to Cameron, who flashes in Gandalf. Who could have seen that coming? But unlike Ethan, Cameron has something else to flash in. That's a Prophetic Prism, and when it ETBs, he'll draw 2 cards. Then we'll move to Cameron's turn, and he'll start off by cracking his Chromatic Star. He'll add a white and draw 2 cards. Then he'll cast a Soul Guide Lantern, and with its 2 triggers, he'll exile Alex's Crop Rotation and Vampiric Tutor. Then after this, he'll play a basic Plains as land for turn, and then he realizes he's going to lose his 3 in Dynamo next turn to Chandler's Welcome To, so he might as well use the mana. He'll use it, and tap for another one to sacrifice Inventor's Fair to tutor a Krark Clan Ironworks to his hand. After this, Cameron will move to combat, and he'll swing for 4 commander at Alex, who will just take it. Then the turn is passed to Chandler, and he'll tick up both of his sagas. Roar of the Fifth People will make all of his creatures be able to tap for Naya, and Welcome To will destroy all walls and flip into Jurassic Park. He'll then play Rootbound Crag as land for turn. Then, thanks to the help of Jurassic Park, Chandler's able to easily tap for 9 mana and cast Apex Altasaur. It resolves, and its ETB trigger will target Gandalf the White. Cameron will respond though by flashing in a Filigree Familiar to gain 4 life, and then Gandalf will die. The fight will trigger Enrage, which triggers another fight, which will hit the Lotus Cobra, which triggers another fight, which will target Liberator. And Ethan will hold priority to think a little bit, but after Cameron points out the fact that Jurassic Park will let Chandler potentially escape this out every turn, Ethan decides to intro to Annihilation it, to exile it instead. It'll resolve, and Chandler gets to draw a card. Ethan's Liberator will also get a counter, but that doesn't last long because Chandler will besage you who endures it. So Ethan's commander is destroyed, and because Wastes isn't a basic land type, Ethan doesn't get a land off this. The turn is then passed to Alex, and he'll float 6 green mana, and then cast Scapeshift. He sacrifices all of his lands except for Valakut, and will go find a Spire Garden, a Rockfall Vale, Luxury Suite, a Yavi Maya, and Glacial Chasm. Now since they are all mountains, Valakut will trigger 5 times here. He'll point 1 at each of Chandler's 3/3s, and then 2 of them will be pointed at Ethan's Hangerback Walker. And then under those in the stack, he'll sacrifice Rockfall Vale to Glacial Chasm. Ethan gets priority first, so he'll respond by putting another counter on Hangerback Walker, so he'll get 4 Thopters instead of 3 when it dies. And then Chandler responds by floating 3 mana before his 3/3 dies. Then once the stack is clear, he Chaos Theories Glacial Chasm. So Alex will shuffle it into his library, give it a good cut, and then flip into Kodama of the East Tree, which goes straight to the battlefield. After all this, the Valakut triggers will resolve, and the turn is passed to Ethan. He'll start off by tapping for 3 and casting Introduction to Prophecy. This will let him scry 2, 1 goes to the bottom, and he'll draw a card. After this, he'll tap his Ancient Tomb for 2, taking 2 damage, and he'll cast and spin Sensei's Divining Top. This will let him look at and rearrange the top 3 cards of his library. After this, he'll swap the top, play Urza's Power Plant as land for turn, and then the turn is passed to Cameron. He'll start off by casting Ariette's Tempting Apple. When it ETBs, he'll gain control of Kodama and give it haste. He'll then play a Plains as land for turn, which triggers Kodama, and he'll put in Mishra's Foundry. After this, he'll sacrifice his Soul Guide Lantern to draw a card, and then he moves to combat and swings Kodama at Chandler for 6, who has to take it. Then he'll pass the turn, and Alex gets his Kodama back. After Chandler's draw step, his Saga will tick up, and he gets to tutor a dinosaur to his hand. And it'll just be a casual Ghalta Stampede Tyrant, which he is able to cast. And that's exactly what he's going to do. He slams down Ghalta, and there's 2 ETB triggers. He resolves the Elemental Bond draw first, and then he'll put any number of creature cards from his hand onto the battlefield. So he'll put a Swooping Pteranodon, Ghalta and Maverin, and Palani's Hatcher into play. There's a couple more ETB triggers, and to start off, he'll make 2 0/1 eggs, and then Swooping Pteranodon will gain control of Kodama, untapping it and giving it flying and haste. Oh yeah, and Elemental Bond will draw him 3 more cards. After this, Chandler will tap for 4 with Jurassic Park, then play a Forest and tap it for a 5th. This also triggers Kodama, which lets him put Clifftop Retreat in. Then with that 5 green mana, he'll cast Asceticism, which will trigger Kodama again, which he'll use to put Bonehorde Dracosaur into play, which draws him another card off Elemental Bond. Then after all this, he'll finally move to combat, Palani's Hatcher will trigger, and he'll sacrifice an egg to make a 3/3, which draws him another card, and triggers Kodama again, which lets him put in an Arid Mesa. Now we'll finally move to swings. To start off, two 12/12s go at Cameron. Then Kodama and Dracosaur go at Ethan for 11. And then the Pteranodon, the 3/3 token, and Polani's Hatcher go at Alex. Now yes, the Hatcher does say other dinosaurs have haste, so this is a slight misplay. Read your cards, Chandler. Jesus. Anyways, that aside, Galta and Mavrin will trigger, and Chandler will create a 12/12 dinosaur token, tapped and attacking Cameron. And Chandler draws another card off Elemental Bond. Let's move on to blocks now. Alex won't. Cameron blocks with his Mender and his Familiar and takes 31, and Ethan wasn't planning on blocking, but Chandler's able to convince him to put 3 Thopters under Kodama so that when he moves to end step and drops Kodama into Valakut, it'll actually die from it. So Ethan will only take 5. Cameron will also remember to draw his 2 cards off of his 2 creatures dying. Chandler will then move to his end step, and Valakut does 3 damage to Kodama, killing it. And then we'll move to Alex's turn, where he really doesn't have anything he can do, so he'll just pass the turn to Ethan. And Ethan will start off with a Foundry Inspector, then a Mystic Forge, and he just oopsied into a combo. Alright, let's try to explain this thing. He'll start off by recasting his Sensei's Divining Top, and then he'll activate it to draw a card and put it on top. Thanks to the Forge and the Inspector, he's able to just recast it off the top of his library for free. And then we just rinse and repeat this process as many times as he needs. He's able to essentially just draw his deck, which he'll do, and then he'll play Urza's Workshop as land for turn, and it taps for 2. He'll then cast a free Soul Ring, and then a free Mana Vault, and then he'll drop Basalt Monolith, and Forsaken Monument. And this can make him infinite colorless mana, because he can tap for 4 and untap it for 3. He'll then cast Liberator, and then a Walking Ballista X's 100,000, which just kills everybody. So the winner today is Ethan and Liberator. Congratulations! Well everyone, there you have it. What a fun game with some really fun commanders. And every player got to do some fun stuff too. All around just a good and fun game. It's always funny to see Ethan oops into the infinite combo. He always does it too, without fail. Anyways, let us know what you guys thought down in the comments below. If you liked it, leave a like, and if you're not subscribed already, please do so. We put out gameplay videos every week, and we've been upping our shorts content too, so go check those out too. Anyways, that's all from me today. I hope you all enjoyed the game, and have a smooth day.